I'm gonna have this one on backup just in case it dropped me again. Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. We are back. We are back. I don't know. It keeps dropping me. I know you can't see me. You can see just Bob. I know you can't see me.
Hey, just pretend that you're John Cena at this point. You can't
John
see.
Cena can't see me. Ah!
um, but how are you this evening?
I am good, except that StreamYard is just acting a fool today. Like, what I do? I ain't even did nothing yet.
I know we haven't even talked about what we're gonna talk about.
See, that's the devil. That's
Yeah,
the devil.
the devil is a liar.
That's
You
the
know
devil.
he ain't gonna stop nothing.
Soon as I put in there religion, like, stop her. Stop her. But we wasn't even trying to talk like that. No.
Yeah, you know, I mean, um, it's a controversial topic. You know, everybody had their own opinions about it, and you know how things should go. Um, I'm at the point in my life where I've accepted how I believe in things, and I understand that um, how I look at things and how I view things. You know, it probably majority of people don't think the same way that I do, but I'm comfortable in my own skin, and at the end of the day, you have to be comfortable in your own skin in order to survive. You know,
Absolutely.
but I wanted to just, you know, I wanted to hear from you first, you know, like, you know, your experiences with religion and your story and how you came to be where you're at. And then I'll talk about mine after you finish with your story. And then we could go from there.
Okay. Well, well, pretty much I was born into religion, of course. Well, not of course, but I started off in Catholic school. Now it's a misconception that I went to Catholic school because we was bougie. No. It was because my mother was sick a lot because she had bronchial asthma. So at that time, public school didn't take you full days. They won't take you half days. So at time, private school, which was a Catholic school, would take you a full day. So she ended up putting me in private school. But I also grew up in the house with Baptist, Pentecostal. So I got the take from knowing all of the religions at the same time, just growing up and observing. And I also grew up around a lot of elders. So, you know, it was just always around me. But as I got older, I started to seeing that majority of the religions were the same. They're all preaching the same thing, but it seemed like we're all fighting against each other. Like, if y'all all preaching the same thing, then why y'all all fighting against each other? That was my take on it. Like, where I am now with it. Like, yes, you're all saying the same thing, but then why is one religion saying theirs is better than the other, or that religion is wrong when you're both saying the same thing? I just couldn't wrap my head around that with religion. And it's almost like a don't, I'm not being disrespectful, listeners, but almost like a cult like thing, because you will give your whole paycheck to a preacher and you don't even have lights on for your children. I've literally seen that. Like, wait a minute, you ain't got your lights cut on, but you finna give. I think you need lights for your kids. You know what I'm saying? So I've seen it, and I'm like, it's almost like cult like behavior.
Okay. I mean,
That's
so
just my take on it. With some, I'm not saying religion is bad. I believe in a being, a God, but all this fighting each other because you're this religion and you're that religion. Now, why are we fighting, because one religion is one? If you believe in yours, you keep your religion, I keep my religion, and we can still love each other. Why does it have to be a fight? Why does it have to be combative? And with
Okay.
you being a pastor, I believe,
No, I'm a
a,
former
form,
minister.
a former minister. My apologies. You might be able to, understand where I'm coming from when I say that.
Hmm.
So.
Oh, as far as myself, growing up, my mother, she didn't force religion on me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like there were times where she took me to church and forced me to church when I was little for Easter, but because I didn't act proper at the time at my age, when I was around about 3 or 4 years old and I was real young and didn't, I wasn't used to being around people like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it took me a while to get adjusted to being in a church, you know.
Right, because you're a child.
Yeah, yeah, and we only went like on Easter. So um I had an aunt that took me when I was 5 years old,
Mm-hmm.
and we just went, and I didn't think nothing of it. And it was the church in the neighborhood, and it
Mm-hmm.
was a Baptist church. Eventually, when I got a little bit older, around about 7, 8 years old, I actually started going to that church and became a member.
Mm-hmm.
And what kept me going was, like I had a dysfunctional household growing up, and that's not to, talk bad about my parents or my mother. Like I
No.
grew up in a single parent household, and there was
Mm-hmm.
some dysfunctions going on.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, going to church, it was one of the ways that I was able to cope with that at a young
Mm-hmm.
age. And like I always felt like there was, something higher, like a higher power, and that I was connected to it. Like even when I was young, I've had that feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a lady at the church. She's no longer with us. God rest her soul. Her name was Mother Dorothy Wilkins, and she took me under her wing. Like she used to, I used to sit with her, read the Bible with her. Like she was very sweet and kind to me. Um, she used to take me to McDonald's sometimes, give me a burger and some French fries, take me to the park after church. Like she was a really sweet woman, and she could tell that I was going through some difficulties where I was living at, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And so I was a member of that church for a while, but then when I started getting a little bit older,
Mm-hmm.
um, I started getting kind of like bullied a little bit by the other children in the church. And so it kind of kept me away from going there.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up going to this other church called New Heritage Christian Center. And it was more like they were non-denominational, but
Mm-hmm.
they would catch the Holy Spirit and hoop and holler and fall out, jump up and down, one of them type of churches. And that
Mm-hmm.
was my first experience being at that type of church.
Okay.
And I started going there with the next door neighbor that lived in the same building that I did. And they could tell I was going through some hard times, with my living conditions. And, they kind of, took me in, kind of helped me as much as they could. Um, and then eventually they moved and I stopped going. And then eventually I started going back to the same church that I originally was going to.
Mm-hmm.
And, like when I was little, I was also a part of the choir and, singing songs and stuff like that. I didn't know that I wasn't a good singer at the time, but I remember I was in the choir and I was seeing like certain people in the choir get like leads to songs, and also like certain members of the choir had robes and other ones didn't, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I used to ask the choir director for children's choir, like, when am I gonna get a robe? And he always be like, "Oh, you gonna get a robe? You gonna get a robe?" Like he would just like he didn't understand that I was trying to, feel like I was a part of the actual choir
Like you was a
instead of
part of
looking.
the
Yeah,
actual group,
yeah.
right?
And having a robe was like a way of showing like, hey, you're actually a part of the group. So my sister, and my sister's a little bit older than me. My sister ended up joining the choir, right? And my sister can sing real good.
Hmm.
And I didn't know this at the time. Like I knew she could sing, because I would be around in the house and hearing her and stuff like that.
Hmm.
But I remember like the first Sunday that she was a part of the choir, the actual choir, she had a robe.
And you've been asked for this robe this whole time.
Right. And that's when I start understanding how favoritism works. So
No.
and eventually I started acting out because of that. And then uh, eventually I ended up leaving the choir,
Mm-mm.
and giving up that dream. But like I was still, involved in the church a little bit, um, and dealing with the realizations of growing up in the urban community, being poor and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of hard, and um, eventually I ran away from home when I was about 14, 13, 14 years old, and I lived with my aunt, and she was going to a church on 63rd and near Stony Island.
Mm-hmm.
It was a Bishop Arthur Brazier, the Christ Apostolic Church, the real
Oh.
big one. But yeah,
Mm,
he was
I
on
have no
TV.
clue.
He was on TV, so
Oh,
he was
okay.
like, this was like back in the 90s. He was on TV
All right.
Fox 32 in Chicago.
So that was
And
like kind of, yeah.
yeah, and it was the first mega church I ever been to. That was just
Okay.
huge. Like I'm talking about so big that sometimes it wasn't enough room in the actual pew area, and they had like a secondary room with a television for those
Mm.
that come in after it gets filled up. That's
Mm-hmm.
how big that church was.
So it's almost like standing room only sometimes.
Right.
Okay.
And I remember because he was on TV and I would, see him on TV and and I never watched like all of the episodes, but my aunt, she would always point out, like she'd be like, "Oh, we were on TV. They had did a shot of us." And I was like, "Okay,
You
but
like so, but
but
you looking back.
yeah, I always wanted to meet the bishop, but he was so busy and he had so much going on. I never had a chance to actually meet him until much later in my life. And he passed away like a couple of weeks after I actually met him, which was
Hmm.
like, I was like, wow, like I actually got to meet him. And I have
Hmm.
another aunt. Um, she had started a church. Well, she didn't start it. Well, she was going to a church in Evanston,
Okay.
and her pastor, he was from Liberia,
Okay.
and they were a non-denominational, they spoke in tongues and stuff like that. Eventually I started going to that church, you know and like I'm having all these different experiences with the different types of churches. I even went to a couple of Catholic sermons before,
Yeah.
so I was getting like a full understanding of Christianity and the different ways of thinking within Christianity. And then I
Hmm.
heard how some of them criticize these people because they don't teach it the way that they teach it.
Hmm.
And like, because the Catholic Church, they believe in like the Virgin Mary,
Yeah.
and they pray to the Virgin Mary, and in baptism or non-denominational, that's a no. You only
Hmm.
pray to Jesus and God, Jesus. You pray to God through Jesus, you
Right.
know so and that was, and
And the
eh,
12 stages of the
yeah,
cross, and you
yeah,
do that during Easter and all that. It's like, again, it's certain, moving the microphone, it's certain things that you learn Catholic during Christianity, but
Right,
and it's different, but it's still the same. You know what I'm saying? It's just they
right,
move words around. It's just like words are just moved around.
right. And so it was like after having that experience, and then I was getting older and I was trying to fit in society, and I started smoking weed and hanging out with different people, and then I'm looking at how life was growing up, and I'm like, if God is real, why would he have people go through this and through that? And so
Mhm.
that's when I started challenging my beliefs. I think I was around about 17, 18 years old when I started challenging those beliefs that I grew up with. And
Mhm.
then that's when I had stepped outside and I started going to like Nation of Islam. And I was,
Mhm.
listening to them. They on 73rd and Stony Island in
Mhm.
Chicago. So I
Yes.
started going to the temple there and listening to what they had to say. And then I started running into like people that were like African spiritual, like into African spirituality.
Mhm.
It was a guy, his name was Calfani Rivers. He's no longer with us.
Mhm.
He was on that African teaching, and he went through. He also taught like astrology and card reading and things like that. And there was another guy that I knew. His name was Marvin Lester Gates. He went by Sifu. He was a martial artist, but he was also like really heavy into spirituality. But he was like into spirituality, but not really a religion. But he was like, God is actually us, like we all are God type of thinking. And
Mm.
so I was getting these different perspectives.
Mhm.
Um, when I went into the military, I kind of just became a Christian again because like I felt like I would be able to I'll just say this, like I didn't really believe 100%, but I was just going off of like what was popular at the time, and being a Christian was popular. And then when I got out, I was back to questioning Christianity and things like that. And so I did a lot of exploring.
Right.
I looked up and went to a Hindu temple. I went to a Buddhist temple. Um, I hooked up with Marvin Lester Gates, aka Sifu again. Just trying to learn things and understand it. And eventually, when my life really started falling apart, I just was like, I'm going to read the Bible from front to back.
Mhm.
And I'm going to try to find every single contradiction that I can find so I won't have to believe it anymore. And I can say, I read the Bible and I don't believe it. And then when I read the Bible from cover to cover, it changed my perspective. Like I actually
Mhm.
became a believer
Mhm.
of the Bible from reading it, like from cover to cover. And some of the things that it said made a lot of sense.
Mhm.
And like my favorite book was Ecclesiastes, and it was talking about like how nothing is new under the sun.
Mhm.
Like that means that anything that we're going through right now, or the technology, or how we wear clothes, and anything like that, is possibly has happened before, but because it's been hidden within the realms of history, we don't know that. But you know what I'm saying? But the Bible talks about that. And a lot of people don't know that because they haven't actually read what the Bible say.
Yep. It's all
And
been done before.
right. So I'm like, man, this really makes sense to me. And then it just opened up my eyes and my mind, and like I started questioning certain things. I ended up going back to church, and then I wanted to be seen as actually a real believer, not somebody that was phony, because I actually did believe. And I was trying to, build myself up within the church so I could possibly not only help people, but make money while doing something that I actually believe in. And
Mhm.
that's how I got into like doing ministry work.
Okay.
And unfortunately, like during that time, like I was open to getting taken advantage of by certain individuals, like
Mm.
monetarily wise, not physically.
Right.
Even though you have people that try to take advantage of those physically, that
Absolutely.
yeah, in the hierarchy. And I told you about that. Like I was approached, so
Yeah. Yeah.
um and then like around that time I started finding out about like Hebrew Israelites and
Hmm.
how they feel and how they think. And I saw like a lot of what they were teaching, it was actually like I actually believed in a lot of it, except for the whole, you're supposed to stick with your own kind, racism type things. It's like the Bible is only for, you know, these people and it's not for anybody else. And I don't believe that.
Right.
So and it's backed up by scripture why I don't believe that.
Right.
So even though I have a lot of leaning towards them, like I know that I couldn't fully be a part of that, and then also I have people that I know that are like, what we know as Jewish people,
Hmm.
and that's very offensive to them,
Hmm.
that sect of group. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Because to the people that are culturally Jewish,
Hmm.
in their minds, they are God's chosen people, you know. But then you got these people here that's saying no, like we're God's chosen people, and you stole our identity, and you have all this type of stuff, and you have all these different beliefs. And then I came to the conclusion that religion in general is a belief. It's not facts. Until you have something that's factual that you can actually prove, is just a belief. And you have to be comfortable within yourself and your beliefs that you're correct without having anybody tearing you down, to where like, okay, that's your beliefs, like nobody else has to believe the way that you believe. You don't need validation from outside sources for how it is that you believe. And that's where I'm at currently, because I'm like, I took a little bit of this from where I grew up at. I took a little bit of like the different religions that I learned about. I took a little bit of what I learned from the Hebrew Israelites. Like I still wear shirts with fringes on it,
Hmm.
but
Yeah.
I don't wear them every day like some people do.
Right.
But that's my choice, because I
Yeah.
don't I don't think that I have to wear them every day. Like
Yeah.
that's when I want to wear it. Like it doesn't say in the Bible you're supposed to wear fringes every single day.
Well, because see, I know some diehard, like really strict to the book Hebrew Israelite men and women that they wear the fringes on the hems of their clothing, is sewn into to the shirts, to the skirts. The women don't wear pants, and the men tell the women, you're not supposed to wear pants. Like I've even had a man tell me, like, you're not supposed to wear pants. And I'm like, did you buy them? Did you buy them? Excuse me, like, well, you're a woman, you're not supposed to wear pants. It's cold outside. I am not supposed to be catching pneumonia neither, sir. Excuse me, why are you worried about what I got on my body? And I understand that, again, that's their or your religious belief, but you can't force your religious belief on me.
Right.
And that was my whole thing. Don't force your belief on me. Hey, if that's how you feel, hey, do you. But to tell me that, oh, I'm committing a sin just by wearing pants. What? Like, so the clothing I wear is palpable to a sin? Like, you can't be for real. Like, no, come on now, come on.
I see both sides of the argument.
I
And
understand.
yeah, because it's like this. One thing that I know personally is
Hmm.
that it is impossible to follow every single guideline and every single thing that the Bible say. It's humanly impossible. You are not going to follow everything that the Bible says to do,
No.
because we're human and we're flawed, and rules are made to be broken, as they say. And
Hmm.
sometimes we sin even when we try not to sin. It's because we're human beings,
A
like we
thought is
err.
a sin. We're
Right.
talking a thought is a sin.
Exactly. And
So we're not perfect.
right.
We're not perfect. But like I said, I can understand your religious beliefs and hey, but don't persecute me because it's 40 below and I got paints on. Don't do that. It's cold outside. We live in Chicago. It's cold. You're not gonna tell me I'm 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 going to be persecuted for wearing pants. Come on now. Or your hair is not covered. Sir, it is 103 degrees outside. I ain't covered nothing. You lucky I ain't outside with a bikini on. Leave me alone. You lucky I have clothing on. Leave me be. And it's again, it's I don't have a problem with religion, but don't force your religion on other people.
Right.
Your belief is your belief. Of course, I'm not walking around in a bathing suit. Of course, I'm not walking around disrespecting people, dressing inappropriately for society. I'm always covered. As we talked about this before, how I have to handle myself. I handle myself, but just don't force the ideology. But before we jump off into that, I want to piggyback off of you saying that religion is a belief.
Right.
And I do agree with that 100%, even to the fact that science has proven religion. With CERN and the Large Hadron Collider, they have proven religion.
Right.
They even have a statue of Shiva outside their laboratory in Switzerland.
Correct.
So when have we ever known science and religion to mix? That's because there is some belief in that religion from science.
Correct. Like honestly, like I am, and this is my opinion, that you cannot have science without religion, because
Exactly.
science was created to try to disprove religion. But the more that science has advanced, it has saw that there are specks of truth in the religious beliefs.
Exactly.
I think it's wonderful. Is waking people up, and it's showing people that hey, there is something out here that's on a higher realm than what we are. You know,
Yes.
and with the recent sightings of the so-called UFOs and things of that nature,
Yes.
it's yeah,
Extraterrestrial.
yeah, it's opening up the openness of people, where they saying like, okay, these are possibilities. You know what I'm saying? And it's possible that what the Quran, or what the Bible, or what the Buddhists, or what the
Sumerian
Hindus, yeah,
texts.
yeah, that they were correct. And they like they talk about these giant bones that's been found. So it's like, okay, giants
The
have
Nephilim.
been, yeah, they were here, you know.
That brings you back to Enki and Enlil. That's again Sumerian texts, which they
Correct.
say was the Bible was taken from Sumerian texts and just rearranged around. A lot of books were taken from that text, allegedly, because it's one of the oldest languages. Again, we don't know. Again, like you say, it's all nothing new is under the sun. This story has been told over and over and over again. It's just by new people.
Correct.
It's the same game. It's just different players. It's the same story, same players, but people have changed their names.
I totally agree with you on that. And one thing that I've gotten out of it is the basic thing that I'm understanding, the purpose of religion is understanding ourselves, understanding
Mhm.
how we need to treat other people as well as treat ourselves, the
Absolutely.
disciplines that we need in order to live healthy lives, and just being like doing our best to be decent human beings.
and to be decent to one another
Correct.
and to treat each other as though we want to be treated. You
Correct.
know what I'm saying? We see so many, and I'm an 80s child. We had to grow up, you know. Some of us were quote unquote what they call wayward kids, where we went outside and played and came back in, you know. Go out, don't be running in and out the house. You know what I'm saying? Um, but you came in at the what when the street lights or whatever the hell
Yeah.
came in with that, and you went on in house. These kids and a lot of these people these days don't even know what that is. They don't even know what that is. And discipline.
Right.
So society is not even set up like it was even 15 years ago, 20 years ago. Religion was a big thing in the household some 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Now it seems like it's kind of gone out the window.
I agree with you. And also, and I don't want to offend anybody. There are
Mm,
certain things that the churches were teaching that were in the Bible that they're no longer teaching anymore. And the reason being is because the way that society is running now is totally different from the way that it was 30 years ago. Like I don't have I don't have any ill feelings towards anybody that live a certain lifestyle. However, I understand what the Bible say about certain lifestyles. And if the Bible say that is wrong, then that's what the Bible say. It's not saying that it might feel like it's a personal attack on the person, but it's
mhm.
like there are sins that we all commit that are in the
Yes.
Bible. Like
Mhm.
I know I have my noticeable sins that I do, and especially since I'm a 41-year-old man that's not married with no children, and I am very heterosexual, and I have my needs and urges that I have to meet, and I have
Mhm.
to do it in the best way that I possibly can. That would be outside of the rules and regulations of what the Bible say, and that's just me being honest and real about it. And
Mhm.
it's like okay, like if I know that I'm dealing with this, but I'm not happy with the way that society is structured as far as relationships and dating and marriage, and we went over that last week. And
Mhm.
I know that the Bible say that it's not good for a man to be alone and he should be married and he should be fruitful and multiplying, but I'm not doing that. Like, am I really following the Bible? Am I really a believer? You know, and I've had to deal with those questions within myself, like as far as you know what it is that I'm doing in my life and where it is that I'm falling short and and being judged. And those people have to be judged just like I be judged. So it's just a part of how things go.
Mhm. Now, you still have time. You've been married before, correct?
Yeah, I've been married before, but
Okay.
God hates divorce according to the Bible, and I've been divorced.
Look, I think God would rather see you divorced and remarried than miserable and doing some other ungodly things.
Right.
So it is what it is, you know.
But churches sometimes they try to
Oh
force
yeah.
people to stay married in miserable situations,
Oh
and
yeah.
like I said, there's people that live secret lives.
Oh yeah.
You know what
Oh,
I'm saying?
very much
Yeah,
so. Live
yeah,
secret lives. And the only thing I really a lot of people put too much into church. Like you have people that will literally take the word of a pastor over the word of their child.
right,
Literally, you will take the word of a pastor over the word of a child. Like your child, I don't want to trigger anyone, but I'm only saying this because this comes from memory, and I talked to you about this earlier
hmm
from a book. This ain't like I'm just giving out promo, but I am promo because it's my homie. But it's a scene part in this book where you can get Nowhere to Call Home by Monique Fultz. on Amazon where it's a scene. This book talks about trauma and from a child's perspective and how she had to grow up part of DCFS system. And there's an instance where she tells her mother that she was assaulted. And it's a snippet in there where she goes to tell the mother, and the mother goes to a prophetess instead of to the police. Things like that, instead of putting your all into church, instead of believing, you know what
Right.
I'm saying? Your own child.
Yeah, and one thing that I like, being a former minister, one thing that I understand about it is that these people in these high positions within those religious organizations, they are still human, just
Yes.
like we are. They
Yes.
have their own flaws, they have their own sins, they
Yes.
have their own shortcomings.
Yes.
Even though it's harder on them because they still have to portray a certain image in order to be respected in their field.
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
sometimes a scandal or exposure can totally devastate what it is that they're trying to build. Like
Yeah.
I knew a guy, and I'm not gonna mention his name, but he was married and he was a
Mm-hmm.
pastor,
Mm-hmm.
but uh, he was living a secret lifestyle,
Mm-hmm.
and he didn't want anybody to know, but eventually the signs were there and it was out in the open. And then his wife ended up leaving and divorcing him. Like, he's
Mm.
still doing his thing.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't publicly outed him
Mm.
because it's none of my business,
Mm-hmm.
but I know what it is that he did and what he's going through personally, and I understand why it is that he's hiding it, because he doesn't want anybody to know.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like I said, I was taken advantage of by a woman who was running a church, and it was like like my family, my mother and my sister's husband, we all were going at this church at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like this woman, she was having me like do a lot of things for her, picking up people, going out of my way, you know, not getting gas money, like just doing extra stuff to keep
Mm.
her afloat. And then I found out that she had a gambling problem that she was hiding, and she was going to the boat with the church money,
See?
and she was having financial difficulties with that, and then she was always looking for ways to scheme and scam to get more money. She was always looking for a way to, because she had that want and that need to be like, just have a lot of money to where she could do what it is that she wanted to do, even though she was very knowledgeable about the Bible and she knew so much stuff, and she taught me a lot while I was under her care, but at the same time, I allowed myself to get taken advantage of her, like I let her do some taxes for me, one year,
Mm.
and I ended up owing the IRS $2,500. And the first thing that she said to me when I told her, she was like, "It's not my fault." And
But
then when
you
I
did
had
my taxes.
hold on, hold on. But when I look back on it, it was my fault because, for one, I knew how to do my own taxes and I should have just stuck to that. And then for
Mm.
two, it was like she had a scheme where she had this school, right? And she was like, "Oh, this school is accredited. And all you got to do is say that you went to my school on your taxes, and they'll give you a tax credit. And, you'll get like extra money." And so I was greedy and looking for extra money.
Mm.
And her school ended up not being accredited. She took a cut of that tax return. And
Mm.
then, so like I ended up having owing the IRS, and then a lot of that money that she took, that was the money that the IRS was asking for back,
Mm-hmm.
plus interest.
Oh yeah, because they're
And
gonna
so,
want their money back. And oh yeah.
yeah, so it was one of them lessons that I had to learn, and it hurt our relationship, like, because she's a good woman, But like I said, she's human just like everybody else. And I had to learn that the hard way, that I cannot let my guard down in any situation 100%. You know what I'm
Absolutely.
saying? Like when in any environment, it doesn't matter if I'm around close family, close friends. I can't get too comfortable. Like
Right.
I can, lower the shield, but I can't just totally
Put
disregard
it
and
away.
leave myself open, because
Right.
I'll be open for like an attack. I need to pull that shield up as soon as possible if something is coming towards me. And that's something that I had to learn the hard way. And it was part of me going through the process of not being as gullible and not letting my quest on learning spirituality and being a good person and being with good moral character to cloud my judgment. You know,
Right.
like we all have to be able to judge situations and individuals. Not to say that we the judge, jury, and persecution for those people, but we have to judge situations to protect ourselves.
Each situation has to be judged differently. We have to, and that's how we navigate through life. And we also live and learn through each situation, like what to look out for here and what to look out for there, and we fell for that last time. We're not going to fall for that this time. You know what I'm saying? So,
Right. But one thing that I saw that's a pattern that concerns me is that you have individuals that know that they've been done wrong, but they just overlook it, and then they still deal with the people that do them wrong.
mm-hmm.
Especially in those type of situations, those religious organizations, and they
Yeah.
get guilt tripped, and and it's like you're supposed to be, go through all this stuff. This is part of, you getting closer to God, going through these tests and, dealing with this and not saying anything. And it's like, no, you don't let people take advantage of you under any
No.
circumstances.
Right.
I mean, but it's a part of understanding the isms of life, and I'm hoping that we eventually talk about the isms for a future discussion.
I think that's probably going to be the next one because we're working up to them isms. This is the second time we did talked about them isms of life.
Right.
And we can give them a prelude. Like, what are some of the isms of life that you're talking about?
The isms is pretty much understanding how society works as a whole and understanding where you fit in society to where you can be as successful as possible. Because, you have the institutions of politics, the workforce, society, and you have isms that play a part in it. Even the ones that we might think are bad, it still plays a part, like sexism or racism or
Mm-hmm.
classism,
Yes.
you know, and people that rise to the top in society, they have what's called charism, you know, charisma.
Charisma.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
ism is still a
The
part of
ism is
that.
still in there.
Yeah. So, I mean,
Magnetism.
yeah,
Ah, I'm
yeah,
learning. I'm catching. I'm catching.
right, right. And then we all have symbolism around us. And sometimes we don't even know how those symbols affect the way that we function in life or what it is that we're displaying when we use certain symbolisms.
True, 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 true. That's just true.
Yeah, so it's a lot, it's like I'm saying it in a simple way, but it's so many layers to it, which makes it complicated. It's simple, but it's also complicated in a way because it's the same thing as like something that might work for one person
May not work for the
isn't,
next.
yeah, and that's because their isms are different. Like we all have different isms. It's like me and you, we work good together when we do these podcasts. But
Right.
at the end of the day, we two totally different people. And
Absolutely.
the way you go about life is going to be different than the way that I go about life.
Right. Absolutely. Because we two totally different people on two totally, we're on the same path, but we doing two totally different trails.
Right.
So yeah, I totally get it.
Yeah. And me going through what I went through with religion, it kind of developed this understanding within myself where I had to look at what it is that I believe currently because it can always change. One thing
Mhm.
about us humans, and I'm learning that about myself, is that we are always in a constant mode of change, but
Mhm.
we have to be comfortable in that change or comfortable where we at currently. So if we get to that next level, we'll be able to handle that next level. It won't be so hard for us to like overcome this understanding that's different from what we previously understood.
We're always evolving mentally, you know. You don't have the same thinking pattern you had when you were in your 20s or in your 30s. You know, you're constantly evolving. So I can understand that absolutely.
Yeah, so
So
that's
you say your religion has evolved over time.
right. And right now, I'm still a Bible believer,
Hmm.
and I believe the Bible with the Apocrypha, and that's the books that were taken out by
Yes,
the
like the
Roman
Book of
Empire.
Enoch and all that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ecclesiasticus. Yeah,
Hmm.
the Book of Jasper. It's a lot of them. I
It's a
can't
lot
think
of them.
about all of them right now, but you get the point.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I do believe that like we are supposed to like worship and study God from Friday sunset to Saturday sunset. Do I do that all the time? No, I don't. But I
Hmm.
know that that's according to the Bible, that's what we're supposed to do, even though the church does it on Sunday.
Sunday.
Right. And it's the reason behind that because Constantine, he switched everything around to kind of combine what's in the Bible with paganism
Oh,
for
just to
the
say it's a
people.
pagan. It's paganism, right?
Yeah, it's paganism based. What that's how Catholicism,
Catholicism.
another ism,
Yep.
how that started, and then the Protestant church is another version of that.
Hmm.
Like they came from Catholicism. They just didn't believe certain things, but they still took certain aspects of Catholicism with them, even though it didn't follow 100% what the Bible say. Even though they thought they were protesting against what the Catholics were doing.
But they still were doing the same exact thing. Just
Correct.
again, but switching it around, just changing little words.
Right.
So
So with
yeah,
so with that understanding, like I'm like, yeah, it's a the way that society works is not going to be pure. Like there's some corruption,
yeah,
because humans, we're flawed, so it's going to be flawed in some type of way. And so I just try to deal with it the best way that I can with where I'm at, knowing that I'm a flawed individual as well.
yeah. We're all flawed. So, and that's why I accept everyone's flaws because I'm flawed. It is what it is. You know, we're all flawed individuals just trying to find our direct light, just trying to find what we are comfortable in, you know, in our own comfortability, in our own skin, you know, trying to find our own little tribe, you know.
Right. But I really appreciate this conversation with you, and yeah, like we have a lot in common as far as this go. Like
Absolutely.
our thinking pattern. It might not be 100% the same, but
Oh, but that's what
yeah,
brings the interesting part to it. It's going to be times where we're not going to agree. And that's what's going to bring the interesting thing to it because why do you agree? Why do you disagree? You know, what's your grievances and my grievances? You know, it that's the interesting part. Yeah, we do have similar beliefs and thoughts, but then there's going to be times where we are going to disagree. And it's going to be
right,
like, I feel you. I feel you too on that one. But yeah, but you know, but again, that's what we're here for, you know, to again to add knowledge and to teach each other.
right.
Because again, you're teaching me and I'm also teaching you. Because
Yeah,
I'm learning some stuff from you and I'm hoping that you're learning some things from me.
oh,
So and we're going to learn from the audience, and the audience is going to learn from us. And again, it's going to grow, and the conversation is going to grow, and it's going to continue to take off. But I want to get into the isms. Like I said, I totally agree with you. Religion is a belief. I agree 100%. But no matter what religion it is, it's still your belief system.
Right.
It's your belief system.
Yeah, and then some people they, like it's a belief system, and some people don't believe in religion. They just believe in money
Or
or
science.
status. Yeah, or science, or
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's all about perspectives,
Yes.
and what's important to you, and what's healthy for you as well. Because
Absolutely.
sometimes we have beliefs that's not healthy for us, that
Absolutely.
hold us back. Um, like I said, I can kind of, as far as the LGBT community, like I understand how hard it was for them growing up, and then they have to deal with people that's, telling them they're gonna go to hell because they
Absolutely.
are this type of way, and and then it's a belief that they're bad people. And I'm like, they're not bad people, they're
They're
good
not
people.
bad
Like
people.
I know some that are genuinely good people. They just have their own way of living. And
Right.
it's like I don't have to understand or I don't have to like it, but I have to respect that person as a human being and treat them how I would want to be treated, or treat them how they want to be treated as well.
Now, long as the respect is given both ways, it's not a problem. Like I'm gonna treat you with as much respect and dignity as you treat me.
Correct.
Like it's again, that's your belief, and I have nothing to, no harm, no foul. And I know how hard it is for you to want to get the same rights as your equals or your counterparts. I totally get it. No harm, no foul. Just don't be disrespecting other people, and it wouldn't be a problem.
Right. And that also plays a role in it too, because you have people that, because they don't believe exactly how you believed, and they try to get disrespectful, and wars been start over it. like
Exactly.
like this, like,
Exactly.
for example, like the Sunnis and the Shiite Muslims, like they had like a very bitter battle, especially in Iraq. And then the Kurdish people got persecuted, the Kurdish Muslims. And you have all these different factions going against each other. You even
Hmm.
had it within Christianity, like, oh,
Yes.
these people are wrong. Like the Jehovah Witness, like
Yes.
they'll say, oh, Jesus didn't die on a cross, he died on a stake. It was just a plank that he
Prince.
died on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or it wasn't a stake. It was a tree.
Yeah. Because it, like, in the Bible, it says that he was hung on a tree, but it
Right.
also said he was hung on a cross. So it's all about what it is that
Perspective.
how it is, you interpret that. So I
Hmm.
totally get where you coming from. So
Like, and again, you have a lot of people that use the LGBTQ plus community as a crutch for their own satisfaction. They're using them as a crutch. Like they are literally saying slanderous things and then going to hide, knowing that this is not even really their community. You know what
right,
I'm saying? And it makes the LGBTQ plus community look bad because now these people are repping, we're with you, and they like, no, 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 mm-mm, you ain't with us. And it gives a bad taste in people's mouth. And again, you can't judge everybody by one or two people. You know what I'm saying? You can't. But again, I judge each person by how a person interacts with me. You cool with me, I'm cool with you. We don't have no problems. It's not going to be a problem. You're respectful to me, I am just as respectful to you. No, no issues. I can have an adult conversation just like anybody else can. It's again a respect thing. Like I said, I can remember back in some 20 years ago, this would not have even been a topic of discussion. Honestly, it wouldn't have been because I don't know why it just wouldn't have been a topic of discussion. It just wouldn't have. And we all knew we had LGBTQ friends, relatives, associates, and it was bad that they were getting fired. And, they had to get affirmative action for them because they were getting fired because of their status of their sexual partner, which is nobody's business. It ain't nobody's business. So yeah, they had to have certain rights put in place to just protect them, to have a job and their livelihood, to be protected for their personal reasons. I get it. I totally understand it. So, but everyone should treat everyone with respect. I don't care what it is, what you are, what your relationship status is, whether you married, you gay, you straight, whatever, you're single. Just treat everybody with respect. Just be respectful to everybody. That's the whole thing. Just be respectful.
Yeah. And I know that you touched on this a little bit earlier, but I wanted to be, because I want to be open and honest on this
Absolutely.
platform. And one of the reasons why I got married was religion. I wanted to do what was right by God, even though before I got married, I knew that I probably shouldn't have got married to the person that I was married to, because there were signs that it possibly wasn't going to work that I saw even beforehand, but I still wanted to fulfill this religious obligation to get married. And I had to learn that it was a tough lesson that I had to learn, and I have to own up to it, because I went against my instinct. And
Absolutely.
yeah.
And again, you were kind of pressured into doing this. Oh, you have to marry her. You have to. This is what you're supposed to do. You have to marry. You have to. And, you probably both were pushed into it. Again, it's nobody's business. And that's the reason I did not get married, because I knew that this man is not right. If I marry him, Lord Jesus, somebody better make sure they have my credit card number available. Somebody better have that credit card available. Now, we had technical difficulties before this live where my thing just kept playing and playing, and it tells you about how I got banned
from the dollar store.
Yeah.
And I've heard that story from you the first time I met you.
That's true. True story. See, that's why I'm like, no. If I marry him, no, it ain't gonna happen. But no, it would have been a waste of my time, the Lord's time, the preacher time, everybody in the courtroom time, everybody in the church's time. This is a waste of everybody's time, because I'm going right on down that courthouse and get right annulled. It's a waste of everybody's time. It's a waste. It's a waste of time, money, energy. It's a waste of me getting some new clothes. It's a waste of me a new wig. It's a waste. It's just a waste. So,
right.
But we just weren't for each other. We were together long enough to be married, but it was not. It wasn't. And I always did make that vow to myself that if I did get married, it was gonna be a one time only. It was gonna be a one hitter quitter. Like, if I do this, it's for the one time and a one time only. If I get a divorce, oh well, So I literally said that. So I have no malice. I haven't gotten married yet. I am fine with that because it's only gonna be a one-time thing.
Well, you're a very beautiful woman, so I know that you're going to get married eventually.
Oh, thank you, Bob. And I know I'm gonna be seeing them little baby Bob Bowmans. I'm like, Simba, say yeah. I'm like, look, y'all got a little baby Bob Bowman up in here. It ain't gonna be mad, y'all, because I can't have no more kids. I told y'all last time I can't have no kids. The shop is closed. I threw those away a long time ago. But no, you're gonna again get married again, and you're gonna again be fruitful and multiply and give us some little baby Bob Bowmans so I can be holding it like this. See, y'all see I still know how to hold a baby. Y'all know I still know how to hold a baby. I ain't had a baby in my hand like 8 years, y'all. I still know how to hold a baby. So yeah, but I'm not right now. I'm not even worried about marriage or even dating. If I do stumble upon someone to date, I would. Right now, I'm more focused on my career. Right about now, career and my kids.
Yeah, me, I'm just having fun.
Right. I ain't mad at you. I ain't mad at you. I'm trying to have fun, but right now I gotta focus on this career and these little children's. Well, it's only one little one that I would call a little children, but I still have to focus on my girls and my career. If hubby comes along, I I I will kindly take him. But if he don't, I'm fine too. I'm totally okay with that. But thank you so much for
And
the
thank
good
you.
vibrations.
Thank you. I really appreciate the conversation.
But we're gonna be back next Sunday and we're gonna start talking about them isms. We have to break them down. Like
Right.
break down the
Yeah.
isms.
Right.
So everyone, please don't forget to follow Just Bob Bowman at Just Bob Bowman on YouTube. And that's show for Instagram too, right?
Yep, that's for Instagram. And you can find me on Facebook now. I just restarted my Facebook account, so it's under Just Bob Bowman.
I'm doing a Just Bob
Uh,
Bowman dance, y'all.
TikTok, Just Bob Bowman.
TikTok, he don't stop, y'all. TikTok, and he don't stop, y'all. Oh, snap, he on TikTok. So I gotta follow you on TikTok.
Right.
Don't forget to follow me on TikTok at Mayday Mayhem 1. So I gotta follow you on TikTok. I think I got you on Facebook already. I know I got you on the gram.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you want to contact any of us, you can always hit me up on Instagram at Mayday_Mayhem. That's MAYDAY_MAYHAIM. You have anything to add before we end for tonight?
Well, I just want to thank you for allowing me on your show again, on your panel. It's always a good time. I always enjoy these conversations.
Oh, thank you so much, Bob Bowman. I enjoy having you. Um, enjoy having guests, especially you, because you always bring the real. You be giving your really how you feel about it. Like, look, this is what it is. You gonna get just what Bob Bowman thinking, and I do appreciate that. And I appreciate your time. I'm going to go ahead and end the stream the way I end all streams. If no one told you they love you, I do. I truly, truly do. Make sure you do better today than you did yesterday and strive for a better tomorrow today. Please don't forget to check out the podcast on Mayday Mayhem Podcast on Spotify, where you can also take our polls on Spotify, where your thoughts do matter. Thank you again, and we'll see you next Sunday. I'm Mayday Mayhem.
Just Bob Bowman.
See you next time.